And and the last most important thing, we are growing. We are growing. By end of this year, we are looking to maybe double or almost triple the staff. So in every aspect, Android developers, architects, server-side people, database guys. So you name it.
Sure, and I'll just say, so we didn't really get into the platform itself that we're building, but it's more than just software. It's actually an entire Android platform. So we are working with manufacturers, and we have access to sort of the lower level APIs, and are able to build applications in a different way, I would say. So I would encourage you, if you're interested, please take a look at the videos and the press releases. We have several people here from the development team that you can talk to. Zach's here, and Seth, and people in the back that'll be around here to answer your questions, show you the video, and enjoy.
And an hour also.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to duck out early, but
Thanks for coming.
For sure.
Yeah, it's actually, we're sort of, not really with this team, but we're basically working with the company. It's very interesting, like, to think that this is going to be in the hands of an enormous number of kids and do something different, right? So that's kind of an interesting thing to work on.
That's the plan.
Yeah, well, we're going to assume, I'm not going to jinx anything. I'm also kind of starting really early to recruit for next year's Startup Bus. Startup Bus 2013 actually won from New York, so if you don't even know what Startup Bus is, it's you get on a bus, you get 3 days to drive to Austin and like hackathon and build something. And then it's like crazy. So we did it last year, we made it to the finals. We didn't win, San Francisco won. And I don't like San Francisco anymore. So, but it's cool. So if you're interested in that kind of crazy stuff, it's once in a lifetime, and talking about it. So, but it's a whole year away, so you got time. I think that's it.
All right, cool. Hello, everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
All right, so anybody have a Google TV device? All right, anybody developing on it? Any kind of thinking about developing on it? Okay. So, I'm Carmen D'Alessio. I wrote that book. We'll figure out how to give out 10 of them before the night's over. Maybe just raise your hand and figure it out. I'm going to talk about this in three big sections. The first section is sort of why Google TV. We'd almost call that like why develop on a TV platform at all, what's going on with smart TVs. We're in New York, we're a media town, we should be developing TV apps and doing well and doing great on them. We're Android developers, we have a platform for it. If somebody else wins, fine, let's be the first bunch of people to make some great apps for TV. And maybe Google TV is waiting for great apps to happen with it. So I'll talk a little bit, sort of a third about this, just Google TV, TV apps in general. Then second screen apps, definition of second screen apps, and what kind of second screen apps are out there, what kind of second screen apps could we possibly be making. So second screen is I have my tablet, I have my phone, I'm sitting on my couch, and I'm interacting with the TV. It's not necessarily I'm interacting with a broadcast show, it might be, so we'll get into that. I'm happy to talk about anything. So even to riff on Kevin's comment about a book, my goal with the book was to make it so that if you read it, you go, this is ridiculous. I didn't have to read this book to know this. But I did my job well if you read a chapter and you go, this was easy. I could have just went to the website and got it. So I went through the website. I made some apps. I hit some roadblocks. It's enough to get started. There are smart guys here, who, when I put the website up for where the sample apps are, you'll just go there and do it. That's fantastic. I like to read a book, flip through it, you make notes, we'll see where it goes. So that's what this is about. There's not so many people here that we can't be a little bit interactive. I'll try to have a couple of pauses as we go and kind of talk through this. So second screen apps, let's go. So again, the first section is why Google TV. Google TV's been out for a while. Probably the general impression is, it's okay. It didn't set the world on fire. But let's talk about that. There were a bunch of announcements at CES this year. There's the Nexus Asus Cube. I don't know if it's really going to come out, but it was announced. LG makes TVs, Hisense, Netgear, Sony, Vizio, LG, all are putting out Google TV devices or actual TVs. I suspect that devices are going to win. And one of the kind of interesting guys that I work with says, you know, I buy a TV every 8 years. The monitor's going to stay the same, but I actually want to plug in the technology to that thing. Why are those two things tied? Why would I want to buy a TV with chips and hardware on it? I don't do that with it. You know, I do that with a computer, and I buy a computer every couple of years. Why would I want to do that with a TV? So maybe this idea of separating the buddy box from the actual display is something that'll start happening. But again, CES announcements, Computer Electronics Show, a lot going on with Google TV. LG, some of you are going, well, LG just bought Palm OS. They're going to make their own TV platform. They certainly are. I don't know who's going to win, but we'll talk about that a little bit too. You can develop on a device for less than $100. The Vizio CoStar on Amazon, $98, you know, right now. So if you're thinking about developing on something new, right? Remember when we went out and bought the G1 for $100, $200, $300, whatever it was? We bought an Android device early so that we could develop on it. You can buy a Vizio CoStar, the buddy device that hooks into your TV, for about $100. So if you want to be the person in 2 years who says, I have 3 apps on the market for TV, even if you're interviewing for a job at Samsung on the web OS, you will have done the design challenges for TV. You will have tried to figure out first screen, second screen, how big is the display, how far away can I be? Is it really, second screen apps are a new interface. We haven't had a new interface in I can't remember how long, right? We had the mouse, we had this stuff. This is a new way to interact, and that's unusual. That's what kind of intrigues me a little bit. So we're getting a little bit of news, right? This is last fall. YouTube pairs connects with Google TV. They made the announcement that Android phones, the YouTube app, has a little send to TV button. That's one aspect of a second screen app. How do you do it? And they say, you know, could iOS be next? And when was it? February of this year. There's now on your iOS devices, there's a little send to TV button. Again, it's pretty new, right? YouTube's a big company. They have videos. They have technology. It's Google. It's a good time to be thinking about these kind of apps. So you can actually get a little bit of credibility and get out there a little bit and be ahead of the curve by making those second screen apps and doing something interesting. I'm not going to talk about this too much, but this basically says that under less than 25% of the TVs are sold right now are smart TVs. It's projecting out by 2016 about 75% of the TVs sold will be smart TVs. I imagine Google TV, or whatever Google does next with Google TV, will be part of that 2016 mix of having a lot of TVs out there that are smart TVs. I make a distinction between smart TVs and people that cut the cord. To me, cut the cord means I no longer have cable, I'm just connected wirelessly. For me, smart TVs means I have internet and I have apps, and I can develop on it and do things with it. I try not to mix the two together. And I have no idea what's going on with Apple TV. I have no idea what Steve Jobs magically told his biographer and what Apple plans are, but I do think anything you learn about developing on TV will apply everywhere. And so this is kind of to the point. LG has their own system. Yahoo actually has a pretty good TV platform. I haven't used it, but I understand that they have a pretty good TV platform. Vizio TVs use Yahoo. Foxy, Google TV, yada, yada, yada. So this is sort of the thesis here that I'm trying to make. Google TV is a software platform. The hardware and software are separate with Google TV. Android operating system, Google TV running on Samsung, no, not running on, running on Sony, running on Logitech for a while, running on LG. But Google TV works across manufacturers. Google TV is a software platform, and then yes, hey, this reminds me of something. Let's step back a few years. In 2008, what this says is, in 2008, it's the share of the smartphone market. Every single manufacturer of phones in 2008 was a hardware-software pair. Apple made an iPhone, and Apple's software was on the iPhone. BlackBerry, remember them? Anybody got a BlackBerry? BlackBerry was 44% of the market, hardware and software together. So hardware, software tied. This is the iPhone model. It's the Apple model. It still is the BlackBerry model. Sorry. But then Android comes along, and Android says, "I'll work across all manufacturers. I'll work across all devices. I'm a true software platform." And by 4 years later, that's not long, but 4 years later, Android is over 50% of the market with Google. So point, hardware, software combinations may not be the future of where TV is going, at least part of TV. So a little prediction, smart TVs will follow the same model, that there will be an operating system that goes across manufacturers. That's what we want as developers. Developers will start driving, what actually happens in this market. Any questions on this? I mean, I'm trying to give a little bit of background and get some fun going about where TVs are. Other things I care about are like sort of the why Google TV. Google Play is a real market. You can sell stuff. You can put your stuff out there for free. When there's a market, you can make apps, sell them, get things going. And the last one, there's plenty of Android developers here. There's plenty of Android developers in the world. By the end of tonight, I hope you go, well, I might as well make a Google TV app because I'm an Android developer and I can just do this, and I can show somebody and maybe something will happen with it. So second screen apps, we're going to talk about these for a while. I don't mean to blow through things, or I don't know how long it's going to take. I thought it'd take about an hour. We'll see. Second screen apps, TV's on while you're looking at your phone. Everybody does this now, right? You have your phone, your tablet, something comes on TV, you tweet about it. There's all kinds of interaction. I mean, I'm always looking at my phone. I'm looking at my phone at meetings. I shouldn't be looking at my phone at meetings. I'm looking at my phone at meetings. All I'm going to claim is that with the second screen app, the content and the two screens is somehow related. It doesn't need to be that Breaking Bad's on. I'll show you Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad is on, and then something happens with your phone. It could be the Get Glue. We'll see some of these. So there's a couple different ways that we'll talk about these apps and how to make them what they are. The first type of app that I consider is an enhanced viewing app, and that is the one that's somehow connected to broadcast TV. Get Glue, you get when you sign in. Vigil is, I think you get reward points. Shazam's cool. It listens to your TV and recognizes the audio and then figures out stuff to show you. And I don't know what it does, but it does. It's a very cool interaction of the TV and the broadcast. An enhanced viewing app would be the Breaking Bad story sync. This idea that as I watch this show, something's happening. I'm having a tweet, I'm tweeting, communicating, chatting. It's giving me a quiz. It's giving me a poll. Yeah, maybe it'll be what do you want to happen next in this show? What do you think is going to happen next? So that real synchronization between these. Anybody use these kind of apps? Sit there? No, I don't either, but they're cool. I think this is what most people think of when they think of second screen apps, but I think there are a couple other kinds that are definitely worth talking about. There's a company called watchwith.com. They have a platform that does this kind of stuff. In my thinking about it, the problem you have as a developer with this enhanced viewing app concept is you don't really know what's going to be on that TV show. You don't know the content. Watchwith tries to solve that problem. They try to be the intermediary between the broadcasters, the TV shows, and the development community. On the other hand, somebody like Get Glue, you're just signing into the show. They don't really care what the content is. They care a little bit when it's on. So the point here is enhanced viewing apps work with all TV shows. So on Get Glue, I can sign into any TV show I want, where there's some level of content integration. So remote control apps. These make sense. It's kind of cool because you can have the mouse, you can have gestures, you can do whatever you want, but you're controlling the TV, but not necessarily just changing channels. You may be flipping from website to website using this technology. So there's the Google TV Remote is sort of a reference app that's out there. It's pretty good. Able Remote. Anybody with Google TV use Able Remote? Okay. Anybody with a Google TV use any kind of remote software at all? Okay. What do you use, Nilesh?
Google.
The Google TV Remote? Okay. It's the same one. And do you find it different?
I find it easier to control my TV from my phone, my cell phone, than the keyboard.
Good point. This is, so I have a Logitech review up here. This is the keyboard / whatever mouse thing for the Logitech review. It's actually good because it's got a big keyboard. But the idea of, let's see, moving the mouse around, not that easy. This thing is called a D-pad, a directional pad. You can take a look at this. So I can move from one to the other using this. I can select, but it's a lot easier if I go into Chrome. It's I won't say it's very tough to use this to click on things to do that. So I think there's an ability to use your phone, your tablet as the remote. Yes.
I had this keyboard, and now I'm using LG's TV with a new kind of small handheld, and I like that better actually than the new one.
Yeah,
it's funny kind of.
I think
So I go back to that with the LG Google TV.
Oh, that's cool. I think people are still figuring it out. I think the manufacturers are figuring it out, right? I think let's put a couple things together. Google Fiber is going through a few. It's actually going to be downtown, isn't it? But I don't want to announce it. I think Google Fiber is like in the Midwest right now, right? Something in the Midwest. You can get your cable and all that through Google Fiber. If you get a Google TV, they give you a Nexus 7 to control the TV. So this is happening. People are still. Are we going to have remote controls like that in a year from now? Probably not. It's going to be easy to say use your phone, or we give you a phone-like device to control your TV. I think, again, maybe we'll start separating out the display of the TV from the smart technology that's in the TV. I have no idea, but I can't imagine that keyboards like that are going to be in continued use. And the cable remote, forget about it, right? Go ahead.
My phone helps me because when I'm in the bedroom and kids are still watching TV, I can just turn off from there and they don't hear.
I don't. This is easy to say. I mean, and I think there are opportunities here too. We'll get into this a little bit with what I call content apps. That's next. Yes.
I mean, you're talking about things maybe to interact with the TV, but what about games? Like we had created a game and it was on here, and then we were trying to do the D-pad and moving, but
yeah,
it's like, is there
I'm going to talk about that.
Is there something to use to work with the game?
There's definite technology of using the phone. There's actually a Blackjack remote example, and I'll talk about that. So I talked about enhanced viewing apps. This is remote control apps. These are kind of very TV related. The next couple we'll talk about are a little bit different. Question?
Is this like Bluetooth or wireless Ethernet?
This is wireless, and I'll talk about that too. What's going on, and of course, we're on a corporate network, even though it's a guest network, so some things aren't going to work just swimmingly here. But I'm going to be able to talk about everything I want to talk about, and if we want to try some things later, we can do that. But I have this ready to kind of show everyone. It is a wireless protocol, and you think your home, you have your wireless network, whether it's protected or wide open like mine is up in Westchester County. Your TV and your phone and everything is just all in the same network. The TV, and I'll talk about this in detail in a little bit, the TV is actually broadcasting out messages that say, I'm here and I'm a TV. Your phone has the ability to detect that and connect to the TV, and then that communication happens that way. It's called discovery and pairing, and again, I'll get to that a little bit later. I've got it covered. Was there another question? I'm not sure if I missed one. Cool. So I talked about enhanced viewing apps, and I talked about remote control apps. This is what I think is really interesting, and I'll spend some time on this. Content selection apps. you probably have it here. You select the content on the device, and you display the content on the TV. Same problem, you know, with I don't really like picking content on that keyboard. It sucks. And I want to fling, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I want to say that's the picture I want, and I want to show it. So content selection apps. Flickr example, this is a demo app that I made that you can get the source code for. I'll kind of go through that. Flickr is nice because there's the most simple API they have is get me the most recent photos in the public stream. So you don't have to worry about privacy, you don't have to worry about logging in, you don't have to worry about anything. Get me the most recent, and I think I'm doing 9 or 12 photos. So I get the most recent 9 or 12 photos, show them on the phone or tablet. When you click on one, boom, I throw it to the TV. So simple example of a content selection app. It has to go through all that stuff we were talking about. It has to discover the TV, pair with the TV. But this example's out there. Content selection opportunities. So my question, what about Facebook, Instagram? I've got a few Facebook apps out there. Don't do that one, I'm going to do that one. But that idea of you pick your Facebook photos or videos, yours, your friends, your groups, your pages. You pick the video that you want to play on your phone and it plays on your TV. Or you go to your photo album on Facebook and say, I want to look, my daughter's name is Natalie. I want to look at the Natalie album and put it in a slideshow and put that in the slideshow on my TV. I should be able to set that up quickly on my phone and then throw it to the TV. And then I think about news or content apps. Everybody has an Android app nowadays, right? So your Android app is going to play your video on your device. After today, after a couple of weeks after you do this, be able to announce that you can also fling it to the TV. We'll see how easy that is to do. Anybody here work on those kind of apps? What do you work on?
Think about Miracast, though.
You will see that at the end. No, that's a good question. Yeah. Android 4.22, right? The latest ice cream sandwich, jelly bean. Get them all wrong. Yeah, has Miracast. Miracast essentially does the same thing, and in Android 4.22, it's called the new presentation class. I have a comment here on it. And I'll throw this up on SlideShare. I'll try to get it out. I'll put the links on the meetup group as well. So Miracast, I believe, is implemented as the presentation class in Android 4.22. My take on it is what a content selection app is. And I'm not 100% sure, because I didn't stay up late enough to try it last night, but that it's more like AirPlay, where you say, play this on the phone, which is what we're talking about with these content selection apps. But there's not an interaction where the phone it's a second display. And if you look at the Google documentation on it, they call it a second display. This is a little bit different. Maybe I'll come back later and talk about how I think they're a little bit different. But it's a good question. So anybody work on any kind of news or content apps that, what do you work on?
Well, we're doing a watch out for the History Channel.
For the History Channel? Cool. And so
it's not going to the device.
Say that again?
It's not going to the Google TV, but that's one of the reasons I'm trying to market it.
So hand that in a buck. I gotta figure out how to give these away. If you guys want to have a contest or something, or just we'll figure out someone's do it. Actually, anybody have any ideas for apps that they'd like to do?
I work in an edutech startup, and the problem that most teachers face is they have all the apps on their phone and on the tablet, but they don't have like a screen where they could share all those things together in a classroom or so.
You work in an education startup that's not Amplify?
Yeah.
Well, that's hard. No. I'll give you a book there. I have 10 books to give away, so we'll figure it out. So what's your challenge with that? Just try to get a central display for the educational part?
Yeah, so most of the teachers are concerned with like real-time feed of the students discussing something, and they want it in to see everybody to see the discussions happening in a centralized place, like a big screen or something.
Interesting.
May it be maybe a television, maybe a projector or something, but yeah, something like that.
Are you guys, I mean, is there anything that you guys are announced or thinking about in that sense, or not that you're going to talk about? Yeah. I had thought about this too. There's definitely a challenge post right now for the New York City Department of Education, and I was one of the people complaining about it because it doesn't support Android apps.
Yeah.
And I was like,
What?
I was going to say my word. Because I went on and said, this is ridiculous. And they said, we're only supporting apps that iOS that exist now in the education system. I thought it was horrible. But I did think about with apps and Google TV, that idea of you could have a kid in a classroom who's done with the problem. They submit that they're done. And the TV says, maybe it doesn't, maybe because you don't want other people to know, but maybe that kid becomes available to help another kid. And you can kind of anonymously have this interaction with the TV almost as the leaderboard. I wouldn't make it a leaderboard. I would make it something else that says, who needs help, who does this, who does that. But certainly that idea of who's in the front of the room that everyone's interacting with. And I do think something, whether it's Amplify or somebody else, and this is just, again, my personal opinion, that takes the idea out of kid raising their hand and saying, I'm done, and makes it quietly, I'm done, and I can help somebody else. That anonymous helping is an interesting idea. And just, again, sorry for the aside, but that's what I think I've been thinking about. In the back?
Are there any news apps that you find interesting?
Can't hear you.
Are there any news apps that you find particularly interesting?
Good question. Any news apps that find particularly interesting? I don't do that right now with the TV. It's a good question. I do, sometimes sit there with YouTube and fling things to the TV. I think it would be good to be able to look at your news app on your phone, fling something to TV. But it's a good question. I don't have an app that I go, I love that app and I always use that. Right now. Any other questions?
Yeah. On this interaction, you talk about the leaderboard for the classroom.
Yeah, I'm just making stuff up.
And you're just making that up, saying, well, it wouldn't be a leaderboard. I'm actually working on something that would be exactly that. I mean, it's not educational. It would be like a fitness class, like a spin class.
Oh, fantastic.
Where it's more home focused, but we're going to have an in-person thing. Where for the home, we're building an Android device and Android-powered device. Everyone's got their own. But if you got 50 people in one room together, you don't need everyone to have their own big, powerful screen.
Right.
And
this technology should work. And I'll come back to something I said a little bit earlier. In your app, Google TV doesn't have to be the ultimate winner. You will have an example of a great interactive, social, in-house or in-group app. That's one of the cool things about Google TV right now. You can write the app, your prototype is real and you can sell it, even if Google TV doesn't end up being the winner in the smart TV wars of the future. That also leads us to the possibility of maybe your app is what makes everyone go buy a Google TV. We're early enough for that to happen. We are not, we are the Macintosh without desktop publishing with the smart TV stuff. It's been a while, in my opinion, since there's been a new UI paradigm and a new technology paradigm that we get to play with. Right? The internet was new, phones were new. This is something that's new again. And again, I said it earlier, but I'll emphasize it. A UI where you have a tablet communicating with a big screen is, maybe it's not new, maybe they had it somewhere else in the world, but it's new to me, and it's something to play with. Go ahead.
I'm interested in things, you talk about how it's kind of like a new mouse where you do things that are new with it. I'm interested, could you kind of go over a little bit more, maybe you already have this planned in your lecture, some more of the architectural constraints that exist?
Well, I'll get to other kinds of apps, right, because we've kind of mentioned, enhanced viewing apps, remote apps. I'm talking about second screen apps, the content selection apps. And I stopped on the screen kind of intentionally. There's a lot of things to make and a lot of things that we can do. The next, I don't know if it's the next screen, here's my summary of content selection apps. You select content on the device and you display it on the TV. It's my first little Android thing. you can have a default display, or you can have a custom display. The default display is an intent, and I have an intent to view a URL. So TV, I'm a phone, I'm sending you a URL. Do whatever you do with URLs. Oh, you play them in the Chrome browser? Fantastic. Or I could have an app that I wrote that's on the TV and an app that I wrote on the phone, and they can kind of interact with each other. And I'll get more and more detail about that. Interactive apps. Blackjack sample app. This is Google's reference app for second screen. So I'll end up talking about this in a little bit of detail as your route, as your method of getting the infrastructure you need in place. If you can make the Blackjack app work, you're all set up with Eclipse, with Android, with Java, with everything you need to develop this kind of apps. And this app completely sucks. But you can't double down. You can't split. You can't, anyway, the right-hand side of the screen is the TV. The left-hand side of the screen is the phone. You connect the phone to the TV. The TV displays the same cards every time you play it. I'll stop picking on their app. But then I can hit or stand, make my selections on the phone, and the interaction happens on the TV. Now, I've been doing this for a while, and I finally asked myself the question, and I should have asked this a long time ago. Can I have multiple devices connecting and doing that? Yes, I absolutely can. I connected a bunch of devices last night. They all paired. They all would do the same play. Now, if you're making an app like your fitness app, you would have to take into consideration who is sending me this data. Which of these guys is doing this? What am I displaying? But yeah, you could have the race, right? You could have your race going on. You could have your quiz going on. You could have your Jeopardy game going on. You could do this kind of cool stuff. So the Blackjack sample app is sort of the reference app. I'll tell you exactly where to find it and what to do with it. So this is what I talked about. The results are displayed on the TV. Two apps are used. An app is created and deployed on the TV, and an app is created and deployed on the phone, and they interact with each other. Developing on the TV is kind of cool. I think I have a screen for this later, but I'll kind of talk about it. You go find it. You know what? I'll do this because I don't have much to show on the TV, so this is something I'll show on the TV. So it looks a little bit like Android. So I'm in my settings. And I go to my detailed network status, and I get an IP address. Now from Eclipse, I'll actually go out to a terminal window and say ADB connect, debug to that IP address. So I'm remote debugging on the TV through the wireless network. So that's kind of cool. But even at home, excuse me, I'll get it. So even at home, I have to say that there's unknown sources that can load stuff to this TV, and I'm going to set a couple of development options. Oops. Yeah. So the key development option is allow remote debugging, and then I have to enter the IP address of my computer where the debugger is. So this is another example of it's really easy for me to explain this. When I read it on the Google site, it took me like half a day to figure out what I was supposed to do, and it's written up in the book, do this, do this, do this. But I always get my IP address, go here, do this, do that. It's really easy. But it's also really cool when you're in Eclipse and you say run, and your TV comes up as one of the options to run on. Again, you're an Android developer, you got this device, this is actually all you need to do to kind of get started.
You have to pair with your computer first, right?
This is how you pair with your computer. You pair with your computer. Let me go. You you get the IP address of your computer, you go into the settings screen of your Google TV. Under apps, there's a development option. Under the development option, you type in your debugger IP address. Questions? So that was my little aside on the TV. We'll go back over here. So someone created the Blackjack TV app. They deployed it on the TV. I didn't want to get past that phrase, deploying your TV, without telling you how to do it. You set up your debugger, you go. Your phone apps, you guys already know how to create those. And this was, multiple devices can connect to TV. What are the possibilities? And you've already talked about, the possibilities with fitness with other apps. Anybody want a book?
Question.
1, 2, 3. I'll do 3.
I have.
I know. No, you won't.
I just have a question.
I know. I'm being silly here a little bit, but 2, 3. We'll figure out. Like I said, I got to figure out how to give them away. We'll have another round. Go ahead. What's your question?
Is there 2 separate APKs in the Google App Store, or is it one APK, and when you open it up on a TV, it behaves differently?
This is deployed. The ones that I've created are deployed as 2 APKs. Able Remote is out there. That's deployed as 2 APKs. I was thinking about this question though, because shouldn't you be able to detect what device you're on and really have one deployed on 2? One APK deployed on all devices, and then detect if I'm on the TV, I'm a listener, if I'm on the phone, I'm a sender. I haven't tried it. I was thinking about it. It's a really good question.
You can do it. You can do it.
Yeah, I would think you could. Have you tried it?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't need a book.
One follow-up on that.
What app was that to you? Can you talk about it?
It was just like doing the debug, like that.
I was just trying it out. Okay, cool. Yeah.
What percentage of the code base is same if you're developing on a separate APK? Do you have any sort of metrics on that?
That's a good question. I guess it depends on your app a little bit. But you're certainly going to have, well, let's think about that. I'm going to make it up a little bit. If you had data objects that were the same, I would put them in a library, right? I would have the same library at minimum for my, for my model. I wouldn't want to have 2 models, right? I'd have 2 APKs, 1 model, maybe one library. And we'll see this a little bit, your phone code is what's kind of asked the question, is there a TV out there? So that has to be on the TV side. The TV side has to respond to what the phone is sending. So the phone can, a little preview, the phone can send keystrokes, mouse moves, and in Android and intent. So the phone can send those, the TV has to receive them and do something with them. And we'll get to that a little bit. Yo.
I'm not sure if it's a dumb question or a blasphemy, but like, can you write an iPhone app that's talking to the things, or is there?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know how to do that. No. There's a protocol. So the protocol is Enigma protocol. There is a Java implementation and the C++ implementation. There, as far as I know, is no simple drop it into iPhone and run it. Maybe people that know more about that than I do could do that. Certainly the C++ implementation would be a good starting point. We'll talk about that.
Not that I plan on it.
No. Well, again, I'm sort of in this, on the one hand this, on the other hand that.
Yeah.
On the one hand, it's great to work on a TV and see your app deployed. Even if you work, whatever you do. If you can go into your boss and say, hey, I just put our app on a TV, they're going to go, cool. Go ahead, Chris.
You mentioned just a second ago intents, keyboard, and mouse. Was there a 4th one as
there might
things
be,
that you can send?
Custom text, right?
No, not.
That's part of the intent extras.
You can send an intent extra. I think it's just those 3. And intents, you can do a lot with intents.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you can write your own protocol, right? I mean,
right.
You know the IP address, you can do a TCP IP. I did like Jason when I was sending it back and forth, right. So there's really no limit as far as that goes.
So from the Android side, you can do it with intent extras and do stuff like that. I'll show you a little bit of that, or the thinking in that direction. And as someone who kind of wrote the book and is doing this, my examples are really simple. And my plan is to make that really complex Facebook app, and I'm like 80% done. But the challenges are there still to be faced. But what the book tries to do is to get you more than started and to get you out there And my examples tend to be simple so that they explain things clearly so that you can take my code and go, I'll make that better, but I'll also get things done. So that Flickr app that I mentioned, where I take the most recent Flickr photos and play them on the TV, has everything you need to go through the process. I found the TV, I paired with the TV, I'm sending something to the TV. I made that app 100% based on the Blackjack app, but as usual, the Google examples are really complicated and have a lot of stuff in them that I don't need. I feel like my job is to take all that extra stuff out and just give you the shell. Start with the shell and then build from that. So yeah, multiple devices can be connected to the TV. Was there?
I'm just curious if you were going to deploy a two-part app like this, where one part was for the phone, one part was for the TV, would the typical process be for people to find your app as a phone app, and then you send an intent to the TV that opens up the web page on Play or something?
That's a great idea. The typical way they're deployed now is there's a kind of a prompt to get both. I like the idea that you make one and it works on both. And I think what you just said is a really good idea. You've got the phone app, you're in front of the TV, go get the TV app. Or you send the intent to the TV, it's detected that it's not there, you do something in that case.
Can I add to that? So with the Google Plus thing which came out last week, you can actually push an app directly to the device from your website. So I hope that
that's cool.
You can also have the same thing on the television also. So on the website you have push to your TV, and it opens up, it checks your Google account and publishes the APK directly to your TV.
Great. And honestly, I've been focusing on how they interact. I haven't been thinking so much about how to communicate the deployment. It's a really good question. It's a very practical question. Thanks. WeDraw.tv. Right. This isn't the only game in town. So I'm going to talk about the Animote protocol and connecting and pairing and using the Google TV native ways to do this stuff. There's a company called Movl, MOVL.com. They make a platform that does this. I haven't tried it. I suggest you try it. If I was going to do something that worked with iPhone and Android right now, I would probably do this, or I would at least check it out as an option. So they make a game called WeDraw. You go to WeDraw.tv and it's there. Google TV right now may be good for the specialty apps like the fitness app where you're controlling the environment. For generic apps that you want people to play and interact, you might want something like this where it's more broad. Or you make this, something so cool on Google TV that you deploy elsewhere. It almost makes the point, it's still new, so it's still kind of cool and things are being figured out. Interactive apps, you interact with the device and display on the TV. Sort of my definition of an interactive app is it's not just selecting content. With the Blackjack app, you said hit and you didn't, get new you didn't deploy content. The game played, and there's an app on both. There's an app on both the TV and the device. So, go ahead.
I never saw an app that actually combines the broadcast TV with the app. It's either you're in Android or you're watching TV. I never saw that combination.
And neither have I.
Is it possible? Is it hard? Or?
There's no way that I know how to do that. Yeah. Anybody going to?
I would just try to run it as a background.
Morrison, who else? Okay, anybody else?
Extend it.
I mean, we're in that great world where this could all be enhanced and at Google I/O, and there's all this new stuff announced, and they announce X, Y, or Z about TVs. Or they could say, yeah, we're done with Google TV, here's the next thing. I have no idea what's going to happen, but I do think, making it easier to do this, making better interaction with broadcast TV, tell me, I'll be watching online, and looking for the handful of people that are here. Who knows what's going to happen? But I do think, more interaction with broadcast TV would definitely be, I think, an enhancement.
I didn't find any.
Yes, I haven't either. Google TV's on like 3.2. There's the second display stuff, the presentation stuff, the Miracast that's now in the newer devices. Seems pretty natural that Google TV might get an upgrade, but who knows, right? If they're doing an upgrade, where are we? We're in March. I don't know. When will they announce sort of the pre-kit, for it? So I don't know. But I think the reason I'm talking about that now is these are good questions. And we're going to find out more. It does make it exciting for me. I get excited at the failures or the things that aren't there yet because I do think all these things are coming. Go ahead.
You mentioned WeDraw.tv, but you said that was not Google TV related. What is it?
It's a company called MOVL.com. They make a platform for making these second screen apps. They work on iPhone, they work on your web. And so I'll talk about this in more detail, but logically you guys already have it. Somehow you need to connect to your TV if you're going to communicate with your TV. The Google TV protocol is the email protocol. The TV is saying, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. Your phone detects it, makes the connection. I don't think YouTube's doing that. I think YouTube is saying, hey, you're signed on both devices. I gotcha, I know who you are. I'll make the connection between the two. So there's always something, in, I call them Movable. I'm not even sure if that's how they pronounce their name. Movable.com has that kind of token. Somehow you sign in, and you make the connection between your phone and your TV device. It'd be a nice like Facebook thing. You're signed in on Facebook on your TV, you're signed in on Facebook on your phone. Let's start sending things back and forth. I'm sure we can figure out how to do it. The key is there needs to somehow be a connection that ties the two. The nice part about this is you're going through your own wireless network. You're not going out to the internet and coming back. I'm sure Movable goes out to the internet and comes back. Any other questions or where we are?
It seems like in order to make this to work, you have to provide a service where everything's pre-made for you. It seems like a big learning curve for like individuals to make the leap to know how to do that and then configure everything.
You mean a consumer?
Yeah. I mean, like you go to the gym, everything's made for you.
Yeah.
That experience.
Yeah, it's a good question. How do you make this consumer friendly? I think your idea of well, I think there's a couple ideas that came out today. One I had thought of, one I hadn't, or kind of were in my mind, is having one app that deploys on both the TV and the phone. Not this idea of you find your remote app and then you deploy your TV app too. It'd be great to say you get this app and you put it on your TV and you put it on your phone. The other is it's on your phone and you try to do it and it says, hey, I'll show you how to put it on your TV now. I don't think, and it's actually maybe a challenge that I'll try to think of it a little bit. How do you make that great first time experience for someone to deploy a second screen app? It's a question that I haven't considered. And I think it's important and it's good that it came up here. I don't think you need to be a rocket scientist to do this, but it is more than sitting back on your couch and pressing a button.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to think for a little bit to say, I need it on the TV and I need it here. If you can make that easy, that's a really good thing. And there probably is a way to make it easy with going to a web page, loading it on the TV. You have your app on the phone. The app on the phone says, show on TV. Show on TV brings up the Chrome browser and downloads your APK to the TV. You can figure it out, but I haven't seen it. It's a really good thing. Maybe I'll try to figure out how to write a blog post on it and try to follow through on a good model for it. Try to make it simple. Because it sounds hard, but I don't think it is. We've been talking about this a little bit. Discovery and pairing. So the quote technical terms are, I discover that there's a TV and I pair with the TV. Discovery is recognizing a TV on the network, and that's exactly what we've been talking about. How do I recognize the TV on the network? Pairing is establishing a trusted communication. We do that on Google TV with the email protocol, which I'll talk about. These other guys like Movable do it with signing in and making a connection and saying, here's my TV, here's my phone. But you're right, it's not necessarily an easy thing to make those connections. And maybe that's part of why this hasn't been like, boom, everybody just does it. Probably kind of difficult to see. The screen on the right says connect to TV, and then it has, oh wow, I moved that from there. It detected my TV, and it's got sort of a serial number here and an IP address. It detected the TV, my phone sees that, I click on it. Now I'm pairing. So it's a challenge and response. The TV says, type in 3E86 or scan this QR code, which nobody's going to do. So I type in 3EA6 on the phone, and I've got a connection between the phone and the TV. Oh, that was weird. Hold on a second. What? Okay. Microsoft. Oh, that's close. Sorry for the interruption. We'll find her spot.
We've detected you've used your app for something productive. We're shutting you down now.
Yeah, my goodness.
Open office.
Where I was. Okay, so slideshow. Let's see how this works out. Oh man. I gotta just find the mouse on that big screen.
Yeah.
See it? There it is. Anybody? Will you see it somewhere? Where do I top right? Oh, okay. I hope that's a switch screens.
Yeah, let's see.
There we go. So yeah, discovery. This is what I was. Maybe I tripped on something. We find this. We go to the next screen and we have that challenge and response. So we do want a little bit of security, even though it's our home network. You know, this is what's going on in the back.
Do you know of any ways to do this with NFC? I mean,
Great question. Don't know. It's a really good question. It makes perfect sense, you know, to try that. Any-mote is a protocol. The TV is broadcasting out on the wireless network. I don't know if any TVs have NFC, but it's a really interesting thought. I like that. Yep.
This might be a little premature, but would you have to do this pairing, entering the code for every single app, or would you just do it for that first time, that initial app, and then it gets added to something?
It looks like it's per app, but I think, you know, there are companies that do things like this, that make an infrastructure that says I'm trusted and I pair and, you know, do that. Anybody work in any kind of advertising, display advertising, anything like that? Because I think there's something interesting that will ultimately come here too with, you know, kind of on that, right? DoubleClick made ads that everybody saw and then tracked the ads that everybody saw, but they were also part of everybody's web experience and interaction. You know, I don't mean to go to the side like that, but there may be the company that says, here are your trusted apps that you can pair with, and here's our advertising. Or you see something on your tablet, you show it on your phone, that the way they interact with each other, we'll find out. But it's a good question. Right now, it's app-to-app pairing. Once you've paired, you're cool, you know. And I haven't played with it enough. I mean, my TV's always on, so if I pair, I'm paired. You know, so the network goes down, and then the IPs are changed and whatever. But it's a good question. And again, this does have that sense of feeling a little bit primitive, right? It's a little bit of a primitive way to do this. YouTube's way is much slicker. It's sent to TV, and magically it happens. There's the any-mote protocol, and there's the any-mote library. When you install the Blackjack app, you get the any-mote library, and it includes an activity. So this is really just the any-mote library activity coming up and saying, you know, make the connection happen. I haven't gone in and torn apart that activity. Theoretically, you could do it. You could just say, you know, trust, go, you know, skip all this crap. Go ahead.
Will it be more of a matter of you do that initial app and you pair your device with your TV, and then after that they know
they're trusted, right?
Yeah,
so I mean, I could write a properties file, or you know, I could write something. I could write a file for the TV that says trust me, trust this guy.
Does YouTube work in the sense that, like, can you with the any-mote or something similar, you can kind of do something with Bluetooth in other contexts?
Yeah.
It has an ID even though you haven't paired, but then the ID is sent to the network, and then it knows, even though you haven't paired, that it's the right one. So you're not like sending a video to a TV that's at home when you're somewhere else, like that kind of thing.
I think so.
Okay.
It's speculation. I mean, my question on Google Plus was when YouTube came out with this and announced it for iPhone was, kind of your question. Like,
Yeah.
is there a new protocol that we can play with?
Yeah.
You know, how do you do that? When are you going to release it for us?
Because like, you know, if you're like in some other city next week and you send a video and it like pops up in the middle of the thing here, like it's not really going to work.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it's like,
Good point.
yeah.
It has to be on the same Wi-Fi network. So.
Okay. Oh, even with the YouTube? Okay, that's interesting.
It's not cloud-based.
So this is your point. For all second screen apps, some kind of discovery and pairing must occur. Google TV uses NMO protocol and the Google TV pairing protocol. This is all wrapped up into this NMO library. So, and the links are here. I actually meant to put a big long list of links at the end, but I'll make this presentation somewhere available so you can get the links. And again, this might be the lead out to go find and do a few more things. Though these are out there, I've probably looked at these. I don't look at these docs to use them to build something. These are kind of reference docs. So my contention is the best way to get started is to install and run the Blackjack Demo app that Google provides. So there's a link to it there, and you can use Git and kind of get all the Google TV examples. So this is the install the Blackjack Demo. This is what the screen looks like in Google TV Android samples. So once you've installed it, here's what you have. The Blackjack GTV app, the app that goes on the TV. The Blackjack TV remote app, the app that goes on your phone. And the NMO library installed as a library. So I think I did that. So you have your Blackjack TV remote. It's referring to the NMO library as a library in your project setup. You're good that way. The NMO library is set up as a library. I think I have some notes in the book that says, you're going to download it, it's not going to work, clean it, check out your versions. It pretty much works. You guys will figure it out, but maybe a bump here or there. So what does the NMO protocol do? We talked about this a little bit. Keystrokes go across, so I can do the H for the hit. Mouse events can go across, and connection events. Connections events are connected to the TV, disconnected from the TV. And intense with an exclamation point. The Flickr app that I talked about, and I'll talk about it in more detail, the intent I send is display this web page. The web page just happens to be the URL of a photo. So it's easy. Blackjack remote code, we implement the NMO client listener. It's easy when you see it. I mean, I'll talk about it, but it's easy when you see it. You get the NMO sender. It's the magical thing that allows you to send from your phone to the TV. And with the Blackjack app, you send keystrokes to the TV app. H for hit, doesn't matter. But it's almost like this is like programming, like Visual Basic or something, or a game when you were a kid, where you're like, oh, I'm sending a keystroke, and then I'm making something happen. So it is a little bit funny. H for hit, and S for stand, and for new game. You guys aren't going to be able to see this, but I'll tell you what it says. The Blackjack remote activity extends the activity and implements the client listener. Client listener is defined in the NMO library that you already have because you installed the Blackjack app. You make an intent, you bind to the service, you copy the code to do those things because it's always exactly the same. You make a couple little changes. Important, in your manifest, your Android manifest file, there's the service for the NMO library that you have to define, and there is actually that activity that's included in the NMO protocol, the activity that does the pairing. And again, it makes sense to tear that activity apart. I haven't done that. It makes sense to make it your own. But it's also to get started, do this, use the activity that they provided for you. So think about it step by step, implement the client listener, do all the Android manifest stuff with the service, a couple more things. Oh, actually, this is just how do they actually send the thing over. They detect that a button is clicked on the phone. and they have a send key event, which is just a little method they made. And at the end of the day, all that's doing is one line, which is down there at the bottom. Anyemote sender, the thing that the Anyemote client gives you, that send key press key event, and key event is key event.keycode.h. You hit the H key, send the H key to the TV. Now, it took me a minute when I first looked at the TV app to say, hey, where's all the special stuff? There's like no special stuff in the TV app. The TV app just says, hey, in the key down listener, if you get an H, do this. It's exactly as if you wrote it anywhere else and you overrode the on key down event. So you hit the keystroke on the phone, you sent the key phone to the TV treats it as though someone clicked H on the keyboard. Easy enough. Go ahead.
How would you handle the case where you have multi-users? Is there a different service created for each user?
I haven't thought enough about it. It's a really good question. I think what you would do, right, you would probably have an intent and have an ID, and you're not sending over just the H at that point, you're sending over the H and the ID. It's a good question, and I think, I'll go back to my stock answer of, people haven't made cool enough apps to have those be common things that happen, but I think it's not hard to do that, and I think it's actually a very reasonable thing to do.
You get old school, left and right side of the keyboard.
So
left side and right side of the keyboard.
Fair enough, right? Yeah, actually, sure. Player one, sure. Player one, player two. You don't have to know that those funky keys that you're sending are different because you're player two. That's actually a really good cheat.
But if you had a blackjack game with two different phones,
you
don't want to see the other person's cards, right? So.
No. I think what he's saying though is, if you sign on as player two, you're sending different keystrokes.
Right.
That's just a cheat.
Then you can send the other keystrokes when you want.
Yeah, exactly. It is funny. So but I mean, a good point. And I tried this last night. If I sign on to the stock blackjack game that is really just a demo app, and I sign on with a couple different phones, everybody can hit, everybody can stand, everybody's doing the same thing because it's just a keystroke getting made. But you can think of other games where it's like, you're trying to fight or do something, I don't know. Push each other, it's sumo wrestling, right? Push you this way, push you that way.
Hungry hippos.
Yeah. The possibilities are endless. Any questions? In the back, yes.
Do you have any details as to why the Nexus queue really never got really? Because I think they were trying to play around with some.
Yeah, it's an interesting question, right? Because I sit here and think, when was CES? Like a month and a half ago? Do they have to release it by now, or did they actually kill it, or did they, or is there an announcement that it's killed, or is it just not released? It's just not released. I don't know, because I don't take the fact that it's not released to mean that the CES announcement wasn't real and something's happening. Maybe they'll do more cool stuff at Google I/O and it'll have the newest stuff on it, but that's pure speculation. Let's speculate. Any other questions? Sending intents, if you're using Android, you're using intents in some way, shape, or form. Implicit intents like view a web page, explicit intents like start an activity. Down at the bottom, right, this is classic. This is what I'm using in a demo app, but I'm also using this in the Flickr app. Intent equals new intent, action view, parse the URL. So Flickr gives me the 12 most recent uploaded photos. It gives me a URL, so it's the easiest thing in the world to display them on the phone. When you click on them, send them to the TV, and all I need, I don't need, actually good point, I don't need a TV app to do that because I'm just sending it to a URL. And maybe that's an interaction that I hadn't really thought about. If you have a really cool interactive website, you could be sending things to a website that kind of acts as though it's responding. Right now I'm just sending photos, but I could be sending a long query string that makes the web app do something from my phone. That would be a cool experiment. I haven't played with that, but why not? In the back.
maybe this is too soon, but what if you want to send like a stream of bytes, or I don't know, like a stream of video?
Yeah, I thought about that. Like, you can send a keystroke, and you can send, this stuff. Why can't you do more? It's
so you can't do more.
Well, I mean, it would suck to send a lot of keystrokes. I mean, that's how you have to do it now. You can certainly send an intent with data, and I guess it just depends on how slick that gets, right? And the simple example is you're opening, even the Blackjack app, the activity opens each time. Yeah, even though you're playing, it's sort of really just initiating the same activity over and over again. But that's okay. And that's, again, when you have the two on the side. Yeah, I think it's interesting to think about that.
So you have to create a socket and then just do it some other way, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, there may certainly be ways to do that. That maybe leverage the pairing or maybe do something else. It's that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Is it possible to bypass the library altogether? Like we have Chrome to phone extension.
Very, very good question.
So it would come through GCM and not through.
Right, I think there's a couple ways to do this, right? So you could use GCM. The AnyNote protocol, there's actually an example where it's implemented in Chrome. So you have Chrome talking to the TV using this protocol. Why not GCM back? Why not other methods back to your phone? I think the combinations haven't been, I certainly haven't exhausted the combinations of things that you could do. I think it's like a lot of things. Anybody here that's developed an app can probably get their app or get part of their app deployed on Google TV easily, maybe supplement their app with a second screen implementation in a meaningful way to kind of get out there and do some stuff. But I still think we're just beginning to kind of figure out this new, I don't call it new paradigm, but new way to make a really good complex interaction simple and meaningful for people, to do all the time. Now, with TV, whether it's YouTube, whether it's, I was an Android developer lab here in New York a few years ago where they talked about Google TV, and they talked about that lean back experience. You're in your living room, you're leaning back, you don't want to think, you don't want to do things. Maybe you do, but I think you don't want to think to set it up, but maybe there are, kind of neat things that you want to do, while you're on your phone. Because if it's true that you want to just lean back and veg out in front of the TV, then why is everyone on their iPad or Android tablet when they're in front of the TV? People do want to do things. So I don't know that we figured out the best apps yet, but I think it's some good ways to think about this. I don't mean